final segment of the show for today. The topic is the implication of the crisis in Libya to Black Africa. And of course, Dr. Madu has given us some excellent information relative to the status of the relationship between Libya and Black Africa. And Dr. Madu, several other things that you've mentioned. Let's pick up where you left off dealing with this. This is such an important yet so much unheard of information. Let's talk about it from that perspective.
And you know, we've talked about the economic consequences, the implications. We've talked about the political. We've talked about the security. Now, the racial angle. Now, like I said before, when the Senussis were in power, you know, Africans, or the black Africans in Libya, who are really citizens of Libya, most of them come from where you call the Fezzan in southern Libya, they were badly mistreated. You know, they were treated really like slaves, and that's what they are called. It's not only Libya. Most of the Arab countries, okay, have had this dislike for the dark-skinned Africans. Now, you remember the trans-Saharan slave trade. That's how a whole lot of black Africans were taken from the south through the caravans in the Sahara to the Arab countries to work for them and all that. Now, you know, they ended up, as usual, being called slaves and badly mistreated. All of the Arab countries were, you know, acted towards Africans that way. And that's why I was saying that when Gaddafi came and embraced the African leaders, you know, it was a change for them. Started, you know, seeing Libya as Africa. It was a change for them, you know. So now that he has overthrown that racism in Libyan society, has come back. It's not that it wasn't present when Gaddafi was there, but it was suppressed. You understand what I mean? Yeah,
exactly.
It was there. It was suppressed, but it was kept in check. Now, what you're seeing all over Libya is that anybody with black skin is being arrested by this new government. Everybody who is black now is being mistreated in Libya. They are arresting Nigerians, Ghanaians, you know.
All you have to do is be black in Libya to be arrested.
All you have to do is be black right now in Libya to be arrested by the transitional government. Graffiti is all over about blacks being monkey and all this. It's appearing everywhere in Libya. Because, like I said before, most of the population were antagonistic towards Gaddafi policy towards Africa. They did not want to see themselves as black Africans, you know. So having embraced Africa with all these things, those, you know, African leaders who saw him as one of them, you know, they are feeling like betrayed, you know, by his overthrow. It's not because of love for him, you know, but at the same time because he was helpful to the African governments and saw himself as one of them instead of one of the other. While they were pulling him towards Europe, he was pushing towards Africa. So now a lot of the African governments felt like, you know, his government was illegitimately terminated by, you know, the European powers, supported by, you know, those who don't like Gaddafi's policy towards Africa in Libya. And that's very important, because this racial dynamics between African countries and the Arab countries, you know, goes way, way back. For example, in 1973, after the Yom Kippur War, the Six-Day War in 1973, the Israeli army crossed the Suez Canal, you know, took some land there and a city. And also they were sitting in Sinai. The Arab countries say, okay, African countries, we need your help. The Israelis have captured part of Africa, you know, Sinai Peninsula and all this. Yeah, the Egyptians say that's Africa. So we want you to break diplomatic relations with Israel. Okay? And what are the African countries going to get from it? A lot of them ask, what are we getting for this? The Arab countries, led by Saudi Arabia, say, hey, we're giving a lot of the poor ones free oil and all that. What happened? Almost 98% of the African countries broke up diplomatic relations with Israel. Even those who were very close to United States, like Mobutu and all this, they broke up diplomatic relations with Israel. But guess what? Not a pint of oil came to those African countries, okay? Yeah, and so that started upsetting a lot of the African governments. So, okay, now, hey, here, they told us to turn against Israel just for, you know, some compensation somehow. And yet, they turned their back when we needed them. So that left a sour taste in the mouth of a lot of the African leaders because they felt betrayed by the Arab governments. Most of the African governments that broke relations with Israel had good relations with Israel. And in fact, we are benefiting
from that relationship.
Yes, benefiting from that relationship, from Israeli scientific know-how, agricultural know-how. They were benefiting. Here they lose that, but they didn't get anything from you either. You know, so a lot of the African governments started again, you know, to recognize Israel after they saw that the Arab countries were not going to do anything. So the current situation in Libya really mirrors what a lot of the you know, Arab governments see. It's simply that Arab governments need to be facing Europe, not Africa. You see? And that's the current problem. Now, what should the current Libyan government do? Now, if they want to survive, actually, they have to embrace those African countries back, and particularly those close to their borders, Algeria, you know, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, because if they don't, those countries will serve as a base for guerrilla operations against the government of Libya. And there will never be peace in that country. Because if those Tuaregs, they don't have nothing to do but fight. And what do they have to lose? They already lost a lot in Libya. So they have nothing to lose by going back to fight. Even as we speak, some of those soldiers, Gaddafi soldiers who left, went to Algeria, have started trickling back again to start fighting in Libya. And that's what's going to happen.
So it's going to be a continuous fight in Libya unless...
Absolutely. Unless the transitional government in Libya extends its hands to those African countries across the border. And at the same time put a stop, you know, to harassing people with black skins in Libya, saying, oh, they are mercenaries who came to fight for Gaddafi. The truth is that a lot of those who they call mercenaries are Libyans from southern Libya. Okay? They might be Tuaregs, but they live there. They live there. They've been there for...
home for them.
This is home for them. Okay? Yeah, so now that's why they're arresting everybody. Anybody who is black is a mercenary. And a lot of the Africans they're arresting are Africans who came to work in Libya. Okay? Most of the the labor force in Libya was composed of Africans from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Kenya, from you name it, they're all there. And Libyan government under Gaddafi was serving even under good purpose for Europe. You know what? A lot of those Africans who stopped in Libya and started working there, we are going where? They were going to Spain and Italy, okay, and ended up in Tripoli.
And now, since there is no stopping them in Tripoli, they're headed for southern Europe for the most part.
That's
Italy and Spain and etc. And so they can expect an increase in problems in terms of migration, that population. Is that what we're...
Absolutely.
Well, now, where does the United States, last minute in 15 seconds, where does the United States stand in there? What could the United States position be in reference to this?
Well, you know, Obama's administration is trying to, you know, walk a fine line while supporting the, you know, the Libyan people, you know, but wasn't actually publicly talking about regime change, you know, and given that Britain, being our close ally, was in support of using NATO to protect, quote, the so-called civilians, you know, the administration here had no alternative but to support Mr. Cameron, because they always support us. Yeah, when we went to Afghanistan, Britain was with us. When we went to Iraq, they were with us.
They are our great allies.
Exactly. So now that they went to Libya through the United Nations, we had nothing but to support them, you know. So...
But it's going to be a difficult, over the last 20 seconds that we have here, but it's going to be a difficult road that we have to travel in the United States of America dealing with this transitional government if they continue to react to black Africa the way they're reacting. Is that what we're saying here?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And of course, let me encourage our audience, Dr. Madu, to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.